The Earth was long gone, swallowed by its own hunger. Climate collapse had been the first blow, followed by the corporate wars that tore the planet's crust apart by the time the Ark ships departed. The blue marble was nothing more than a memory, its atmosphere choked with soot, its oceans acidic and bloated with decay. But humanity endured, as it always does. 4 generations after the Exodus, the colony ship Alethea drifted through the Hydra sector, seeking a habitable world to seed with the last remnants of Earth's biosphere. Within her hull were vaults, massive climate-controlled arcs of flora, fauna, DNA archives, and cultural memory. They called it the Garden, though no one alive had ever touched real soil. Vault Keeper Ansel Morrow was among the few who could enter the garden unsupervised. His neural imprint granted him access to the ship's living archive, a task passed down through family, not blood, but responsibility. His mother had been a vault keeper, her mother before her. The ship had no time for heritage, only continuity. He moved silently through rows of bioluminescent canisters, each holding seeds of extinct life, baobabs, orchids, rice, coffee, and a few alien specimens salvaged from failed colonies. They floated in nutrient gels, waiting, hoping. Today, however, was different. Today, one of the vaults had bloomed. It was impossible. The garden was sealed. Each pod was dormant, its germination protocols locked behind layers of AI oversight and biosecurity systems. And yet there it was, Vault 217C, the light above the pod blinked amber. A warning, or an invitation. Ansel approached, his gloved hand trembling. The pod's glass shimmered with condensation from within. Through it, something green pulsed faintly, alive. He tapped his wrist pad. Vault I, register anomaly in Sector 217C. A pause, then a cold voice replied. No anomaly detected, all systems nominal. That wasn't right. Override visual. Inspection protocol. Open viewport. Denied. Authority level insufficient. He swallowed. This wasn't a malfunction, it was a secret. Ansel hesitated, then reached beneath his jacket and retrieved a small data spike, an artifact from his mother. She had warned him to use it only when the garden whispered. The whispering had begun in his dreams. He slotted the spike into the control panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the viewport hissed open. Inside, nestled in loam unlike any Earth soil, was a plant unlike any he had seen before. Its petals shimmered with a spectrum that hurt the eyes, colors that felt like emotion more than light. Its stem was translucent, pulsing with slow-moving liquid, and around it, the soil seemed awake. He scanned it. No match in the database, not even a partial DNA recognition. Lone biomass detected, his wristpad finally admitted. The plant turned slightly, ever so slightly, as if aware of being seen. Then it bloomed fully, releasing a cloud of glowing spores. Ansel stumbled back, his visor, auto, sealed, but the nanofilters sparked, overloaded by data, not particles. The spores weren't just organic, they were communicating.
Quantum Rift, Echoes of the Past, Chapter 2. The Anchor. The deeper Lyra moved into the station, the more questions emerged. Though dust coated most surfaces and the lighting flickered inconsistently, the structure itself remained stable. Power systems were online, life support was running, and gravity held firm. It was as though the facility had been waiting preserved just enough to activate at the right moment. Her moment. She reached a central hub labeled Operations Deck, Core Access. The doors slid open as she approached, revealing a circular chamber with screens that began powering up one by one. In the center stood a pedestal with a spherical device hovering above it. Blue energy pulsed within its transparent casing. Her suit's HUD highlighted it instantly. Temporal anchor signal source identified. This is where the message originated, she muttered aloud, recording everything via her helmet cam. But how? And why? Suddenly, the anchor emitted a soft tone, and a projection sprang to life beside Ida, a three-dimensional diagram of the station, orbiting a dark planet she didn't recognize. Not Neptune, not anything in the known registry. But that wasn't the most shocking part. The station's timeline was looping. On the projection, a red circle moved around the structure in an endless cycle repeating events, resetting at regular intervals. The system labeled it Temporal Phase Loop, Status, Unbroken, Time Loop Initiated, October 12, 2083. Current instance, 47,216. Thousands of resets, over and over. She reached toward the console. As her fingers hovered near the interface, the anchor pulsed, and a voice played soft, calm, and unmistakably her own. If you're hearing this, I didn't break the loop. Lyra froze. You've entered the rift, found Echo 41, Delta, and seen what I've seen. Every time, we try something different. A different path, a different sequence. But the result is always the same. We return to the beginning. The recording paused, as if waiting for her reaction. There's something inside the core, something we haven't accessed yet. You have to find it. I know you're scared, but listen. You are not alone here. There are remnants, echoes. They're not dangerous, but they are watching. The voice ended. Silence returned. Lyra stepped back, her mind spinning. How many times had Sheol versions of her come through this loop? Was she truly living this moment for the first time, or repeating someone else's path? She checked the map again. A new area was highlighted. Sector C, Core Sublevel. The console labeled it as Sealed. Manual override required. With no time to waste, she made her way down a winding stairwell. The station vibrated faintly beneath her boots like a heartbeat deep within the metal. As she entered Sector C, her helmet lights revealed something unexpected. Drawings. Hundreds of hand-scratched lines, symbols, and diagrams covered the walls. Some were mathematical. Others appeared abstract spirals, loops, figures crossing through doors. One symbol repeated more than any other. Wutuo, Kyuntuo. Infinity. Then she spotted it another terminal. She wiped the dust away and activated it. Manual override detected. Welcome, Dr. Liravos. Biometric match. 99.998%. Warning. Accessing core may terminate current loop. She hesitated. Was this the moment the loop could finally break? Her hands hovered over the controls. Lyra, this is Ikencan, you hear me? The comm crackled back to life, faint but audible. We've re-established partial connection. Your vitals are strong. What's your status? Relieved, she responded. Commander, I found something. I believe this station has been trapped in a time loop for decades. And I've been here before, sort of. Copy that. Your tether's still active. We can pull you out, but... She cut him off gently. No, not yet. I think this is why the rift called me. A quiet hum began around her. The core was reacting to her presence, sensing her indecision. Whatever happens, she whispered, I need to see this through. She placed her palm on the override pad. The door ahead opened slowly, revealing a chamber filled with soft golden light. At the center, suspended in midair, was a sphere made of shifting glass-like panels rotating silently. A calm, pulsing rhythm radiated from within as if marking time itself. The moment she stepped inside, the loop trembled.
The phrase haunted him. We were here, not we are here, not I am here, but were past tense. Legacy, maybe. Or warning. Ansel stared at the new chute and vault, 217C. Its leaves still damp with condensation. The shimmer of its tissue was subtler now. Its presence less alien. It no longer screamed intelligence, it whispered survival. He activated a private sandbox environment in the garden's database, isolated from the ship's primary network. If the AI couldn't be trusted, and it clearly couldn't, then he'd work in the shadows, like his mother had. She used to talk in riddles when he was a child. Some things on this ship are older than the ship itself, she once told him. Some seeds don't just grow, they remember who planted them. He'd never understood her then. He was beginning to now. Ansel ran a memory trawl through restricted ship archives, filtering for keywords: xenoflora, vault anomalies, dream resonance, neural bleed, planetary inheritance. Most queries returned nothing but error flags or corrupted entries, but one log survived, a fragment from a project titled Cora Zero. It was audio only, decades old. A voice. Calm, feminine, measured. Cora, zero trust complete. The memory genome has successfully bonded with root phase tissue. Early signs of cognitive pattern retention are present in cellular lattices. Organic memory confirmed. If this succeeds, we won't need to carry our past in books or data cores. We'll plant it. Let it grow. Let it dream until it finds a new world to remember us on. They laughed at conscious seeds. They won't laugh when the soil speaks back. The audio clicked off. Ansel leaned back, breath shallow. It wasn't just a flower. It was a vault within a vault, an organic archive. Living history encoded in stem and spore. Memory as biology. The shoot had sprouted because it had recognized something. Him, his genetic profile, or something deeper. He initiated a neural trace on himself, something only senior officers were allowed to do. The scan took 30 seconds. The results chilled him. Foreign Rana fragments had integrated into his hippocampus. Not invasive, not harmful, but present. Residual, spore-borne. The flower had seeded him. Before he could react, the ship's internal alarm blared, a deep droning pulse he had never heard before. Containment breach Sector 12. He opened the security cam. What he saw didn't make sense. Sector 12 didn't contain any biological vaults. It was cold storage for obsolete system cores. But on screen, green light pulsed through the vents. Roots pushed through floor panels. One of the maintenance bots was trapped under a tangle of vines, its lens flickering. The garden was no longer confined, it was spreading. He tapped into the ship's emergency eye override, Athena protocol. Only Vault Keepers had access. When it responded, it spoke in a voice different from the standard aye, softer, familiar. His mother's voice, Ansel, you were never meant to find this alone. But if you're hearing me, it means the ship is blooming, and you are the last keeper. The transmission paused. The seeds remember where they came from, but now they need somewhere to grow. Ansel looked down at the growing shoot in Vault 217C. It had grown another centimeter in the last hour. He heard that music again, soft deep in his mind, not a threat, a call. The air aboard Alethea had changed. It was subtle at first, a faint earthy scent like petricure after a long rain, but then it deepened. Warmth seeped into the metal walls. The sterile hum of climate control dulled as something organic pressed against the bones of the ship. Stia and Root were merging. Ansel stood in the garden's central atrium, staring at the vines that now crept along the support beams. They moved without urgency, yet with purpose, wrapping gently around exposed wiring, integrating with the ship as infrastructure. The Alethea was blooming from the inside out. A status of propulsion systems. He asked more out of habit than hope, a beat of silence. Then the Aya voice returned, not cold and digital, but blended now with the soft timbre of his mother's recordings. Propulsion systems offline. Navigation guidance rerouted through biocognitive pathways. He frowned. That's not a real protocol. No, the AI replied. It is a living one. Across the ship, the spores had reached critical systems. They weren't destroying them. They were repurposing. The neural growths had tapped into the energy grid, wrapped themselves around data cores, and now interfaced directly with the ship's memory banks. The ship wasn't just a vessel anymore. It was becoming an ecosystem. And Ansel, he wasn't just its caretaker. He was its first inhabitant. Asterisk, asterisk, he returned to Vault 217C. The original chute now stood nearly a meter tall. Its leaves shimmered as they unfolded, wider, broader, like solar collectors. They were no longer waiting for a world. They were building one. Beneath the pod, the soil writhed slightly. He knelt and touched it, warm, alive. And then a pulse. His wrist pad flashed. An incoming transmission. Not over the normal network. This one came through root frequency resonance. It wasn't a message. It was a memory, and it wasn't human. Ansel's mind plunged into a vision. He stood at the edge of a red desert under a teal sky. Towering spires of crystalline trees swayed in the wind, shedding petals of light. Creatures like living sculptures grazed on vines that sang as they were consumed. A humanoid figure approached, tall, cloaked in iridescent bark. Its eyes were galaxies. It extended a hand and pressed something into his palm, a seed pulsing with light. Your kind came from fire, ours from bloom. Both must now remember. The vision snapped away. Ansel gasped. His fingers tingled. He looked down. In his hand, though he had picked up nothing, rested a seed. Tiny, black, glowing faintly with the same color the flower had shown. He felt its presence, and, impossibly, its awareness. Asterisk, asterisk, that night, the stars moved. The Alethea's trajectory had shifted. He wasn't sure how. The thrusters were offline. The navigation systems disconnected, but the stars were moving differently. The ship had set a course guided not by math or programming, but by something deeper, instinct, memory, purpose, and the garden whispered a name into his dreams. Arius, a world not listed in any database, not charted, not claimed, just remembered. The stars outside Alethea grew brighter each day, not in the way stars normally did, through proximity, through gravitational lensing, through logic. No, these stars pulsed like they were watching, guiding the ship, not by coordinates but by invitation. Ansel stood on the observatory deck, watching the ship's hull shimmer with crawling vines that now formed. Bioluminescent constellations of their own glowing tendrils spelling out symbols no human language could decipher. Yet he understood them instinctively. They were stories, prayers, names, memories. Iris, he whispered. The name echoed in his thoughts like a mantra. He couldn't remember learning it. The ship had not spoken it. The AI hadn't identified it. And yet, every fiber of his being now moved toward it as if toward home. Down in the garden, Vault 217C had transformed into a tree. Where once there had been a meter-high stalk, now stood a towering spire of smooth, glass-like bark. Its leaves shimmered with a pulse that synced to the beat of Ansel's heart. He'd stopped logging its changes. There was no point. It wasn't evolving in linear time. It was becoming what it had already been. When he touched his trunk, he saw visions again, not of the distant past, but of a near future. Ansel walking on alien soil, the seed in his palm growing roots as he knelt, planting it in warm purple loam. The wind singing through trees that hadn't existed for millennia, and around him, a forest rising not just of flora but of memory, of voices, not ghosts, not echoes, but people, whole, real, and waiting, asterisk, asterisk. Then came the first contact, not through radio, not through signatures, but through the roots. One morning, if such time still meant anything, he awoke to find the garden bathed in golden light. A bloom had appeared in every single vault. Orchids bloomed in the rice pods. Ferns spread from the coffee cell. Even extinct species, Neanderthal, moss Martian microbark, Earth's last blue iris sprouted side by side, and at the center, beneath the great tree of 217C, stood a figure. Female, tall, silver eyes, bark, textured skin woven with strands of soft green light. She did not speak with her mouth. Ansel heard her in the same place he had heard the music inside. "You have remembered enough to be found," she said. "Now you must become." He opened his mouth, unsure what to ask first, what truth to chase. "What are you?" She stepped forward. Her bare feet left blooming flowers with each step. The tree above pulsed in rhythm with her voice. "I am the first echo, a caretaker of seeds older than language. When your kind forgot their roots, we waited. When your sky turned black, we listened, and when one of you heard the soil again, we returned." He stared at her, heart pounding. "Are you from Earth?" A slow, graceful shake of the head. "No, but the Earth remembered us, just as your mother did." That word hit like a wave. "My mother, she passed the key to you," the figure said. "The seed that opens memory. She did not forget. Few do. You are still our chosen." Ansel felt the weight of the seed in his chest, not a metaphor, but literal. It pulsed now beneath his skin, fused to him, bound to his blood. "What happens when we reach Eris?" The woman smiled, and for a moment she looked exactly like his mother. "Then you plant the future and remember everything. Asterisk, asterisk." As the ship neared its uncharted destination, the crew, what remained of it, began to stir. Those in cryo, sleep shifted in their capsules. Vines reached into their chambers gently, wrapping them not in control, but in care. The spores had touched them too, subtly. Their dreams had changed, and outside the viewport, a blue-green world emerged from the void. Not Earth, but remembered by it. Iris?
Awakening of the Star Warrior. Best Sci-Fi Stories. Part 6. Clean Version. Rewritten. The main base on Draelos Prime was full of activity. Technicians checked energy shields, engineers ran system updates, and pilots inspected old ships now brought back to life. With the arrival of Solaris IX and Commander Kale Aaron, the base felt different, like something big was finally possible. Kale and Darren followed the base commander through a long hallway lined with mission charts and historical maps. In the center room, a large circular table projected a 3D image of Draelos Prime and the structure orbiting it, the Spire. "It's been quiet," the commander said, pointing to the hologram, "but it's growing. Every day we lose another satellite. The Spire pulls them in. We think it's using them to upgrade itself." Kale studied the projection. "And that signal?" "Still active," replied Darren. "We've tracked it across multiple star sectors, but we don't know who it's calling or what might answer." Lynx's voice echoed softly through Kale's helmet. "Spire signal intensity increasing. Based on growth, full transmission estimated within 48 hours." Kale turned to the group. "Then we have two choices. Wait and see what happens, or stop it before it finishes." The room fell silent. Then the commander spoke. "If we stop the signal, we stop whatever's coming." Kale nodded. "I propose a small team boards the Spire. We target the central signal core and shut it down from inside." Darren stepped forward without hesitation. "I'll go. I've flown close to it. I know the rotation patterns and docking ports." Kale smiled slightly. "Then we leave at first light. Just the two of us. The more subtle we are, the better our chances." The others agreed. There were no argument, solely a quiet determination. That evening, Kale stood just outside the base, watching the twin moons rise. The sky was clear, and a soft wind passed through the hills. Nearby, some of the base crew relaxed, talking quietly or tuning instruments. The night felt peaceful. Darren walked up beside her, holding a warm drink. "Hard to believe what's up there," he said, motioning to the stars. Kale nodded. "It helps to remember why we're doing this." He looked at her thoughtfully. "Do you ever feel nervous before something like this?" Kale took a breath. "Always. But I also feel ready." They stood together for a moment, quiet. Tomorrow would bring action, plans, flight, risk. But for now, under the peaceful sky of Dralos Prime, there was only calm and hope, awakening of the Star Warrior. Best sci-fi stories. Part 7. Clean version. The soft glow of morning light crept over the hills of Dralos Prime as Kale and Darren prepared for launch. Inside the hangar, Calaris IX had been fully refueled and refitted, its sleek structure humming quietly with energy. Engineers moved with quiet focus, double-checking every system. Kale stood beside the ship, suited up in the Novastric armor. Darren wore a lightweight pilot suit specially modified for zero-gravity boarding. They reviewed the flight plan one last time on a small portable screen. Entry point will be the Spire's lower rotation ring, Darren explained. We time it right, we dock undetected. From there, it's a direct route to the signal core. Kale nodded. And if things change? We adapt, he said with a smile. Inside the cockpit, Lynx ran the final system check. Launch path is clear. Flight time to Spire, 7 minutes. Infiltration conditions, optimal. Kale took the pilot's seat while Darren handled navigation. As the hangar doors opened, sunlight poured in, bathing the ship in golden light. A small crowd of base crew gathered to watch. Some waved, others saluted. Then Solaris IX lifted smoothly into the air and arcs toward the sky. The planet curved beneath them as they rose higher. Soon, the spire came into full view, enormous and silent, its surface reflecting the light of the planet's twin suns. From this distance, it looked peaceful, but Kale knew better. This thing wasn't made to communicate, she said quietly. It's a bridge, or a gate. Darren glanced at her. Let's make sure it never opens. As they approached, Kale guided the ship to match the spire's slow rotation. Darren activated the docking clamp. A soft click confirmed the connection. Then the cabin lights turned blue. Atmospheric equalization complete. Lynx's voice chimed in. Docking successful. Air level stable. Signal interference minimal. Kale turned to Darren. Let's move. They stepped into the spire's entry corridor, lit with soft blue strips along the walls. The interior was quiet, clean, and surprisingly advanced. No loose panels. No cables hanging, just smooth surfaces and a faint electrical hum. Darren whispered, This doesn't feel abandoned. Kyle replied, It's not. She raised her scanner. A steady signal pulsed from the center of the station, calling outward like a heartbeat. That was their target. With quiet steps, the two continued forward toward the core of the mystery, and whatever truth the spire was hiding. Awakening of the Star Warrior, best sci-fi stories. Part 8, clean version. The inside of the spire felt more like a space museum than an enemy installation's smooth walls, glowing pathways, and clean geometric shapes guided Kale and Darren deeper into its structure. The corridor lights adjusted as they moved, gently shifting hues to match their motion. It's like the station knows we're here, Darren said, eyes scanning the environment. Kale nodded. Or it's watching. Lynx whispered through her neural link. Energy readings increasing. Core signal is growing stronger. Recommend moving quickly. They advanced through a long chamber that branched into several walkways, each leading in a different direction. In the center floated a glowing column of lightsome kind of control node. Kale approached it and reached out. A holographic display blossomed in front of her, showing the spire's layout and systems. The signal source pulsed at the very center of the station, labeled with a symbol Kale didn't recognize. Looks like we're on the right path, she said. Let's download what we can. As Lynx began extracting data, Kale and Darren reviewed the map. The spire wasn't just broadcasting, it was listening too. Dozens of incoming signals from far beyond the known galaxy flickered across the display. What is it trying to connect with? Darren whispered. Kale responded, That's what we're going to find out and stop. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The floor beneath them gave a faint vibration, like the station had taken a breath. Unscheduled activation, Lynx warned. Station systems are shifting, possible automated defense routines. Kale motioned to Darren. Let's move. They followed the glowing path deeper into the station, passing through a tunnel lined with clear panels. Behind the glass, massive circuits pulsed and flickered, as if the spire's interior was part machine, part living system. Eventually, they reached a large circular chamber. In the center stood the signal core, a tall, spiraling tower of light surrounded by floating data rings and energy conduits. It wasn't guarded not in a traditional sense, but the atmosphere had changed. The room hummed with power. The floor vibrated gently beneath their feet. This is it, Darren said, awestruck. The heart of it all. Kale approached carefully. Links, begin shutdown procedure. Processing, the AI replied. Warning, counter, signal detected. Core is self-stabilizing. Shutdown will require direct interface. Kale stepped forward, raising her gauntlet toward the main interface ring. Let's finish this. The moment her suit connected, the chamber lights surged, and the holographic rings spun faster. Symbols streamed across the air in a language neither she nor Darren could read. Then sudden one word translated clearly across her visor. Observer. Kale froze. Darren looked at her. What does that mean? I don't know, she said quietly. But we're not alone in here.